Hello, everyone. This is Brother Benson Media, and today is a Thursday. As you all know, that Thursday we do have live interview with our leaders who are making impact on our nation. And today we are glad to be hosting one of those leaders from Ndaro County. So, may I take this opportunity to invite her and say something? Ndaro County. So, may I take this opportunity to invite her? Can you hear echo from your side?
Yeah, I can hear echo.
Can you hear echo from your side?
Yeah, I can hear echo.
Okay, let me try to fix this. Can you hear echo from your side?
Yeah, I can hear echo.
Okay, let me try to fix this. Can you hear echo from your side?
Yeah, I can hear echo.
Okay, let me try to fix this. Can you hear echo from your side?
Yeah, I can hear echo.
Okay, let me try to fix this. Are you still getting the echo?
Yes, I can hear echo.
Are you still getting the echo? Hello? Are you getting the echo?
No, right now it's a bit better.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know what was happening. I think the problem was coming from my side, maybe. Let's see. That was not good for me. Okay, sorry about that.
Your video left. Okay, it's back.
My video left. Today, what is happening with the? You cannot still see me.
It's on and off.
Hello. We
Yes.
are very sorry. The technology is bringing issues here. Okay, we are still trying to fix something here. Are you able to see me?
Yes, I'm able to see you, but you are on and off.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Sorry about that. That's technology. As I said earlier, sorry for our viewers for that technical hinge, and we are very, very sorry. So maybe if you can take time, maybe to introduce yourself to our viewers who are watching, and those will be watching after the show.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm Jerry Kahiga from Nyandarua County, Daragwa constituency, Kereita Ward, and of course based in Kenya. Yes, and I'm very glad to be hosted here.
Okay, thank you very, 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 very much for coming to our show. And we also don't take it for granted to have you come to our show, because I know you usually has like a very tight schedule and you're working out. So we are very grateful for that. So today we are almost like around, this is the 18th day of the year 2024. And we are looking at our nation, country Kenya. What is your thought of what is taking place in our country?
We're in a very sad state as a nation because we've started the year at a very wrong trajectory from our political aspect to our social aspect to our economic aspect. Um, I want to start with our social aspect because that is what is trending right now. We started the year as a country that we are hearing cases every day of femicide, which is very sad. And I think it's an issue that should be declared a national issue because within 18 days of 2024, we already have very many cases, and they are not just cases that we can ignore. They are very gruesome sort of murders, and it's to one gender. That is why we are referring to it as a femicide issue. And we are looking forward to see what is going to happen because when such things happen in the society, it gets very worrying. Economically, we're also starting at a very wrong trajectory by the fact that the dollar has now hit 160. I think now it's heading to 161 this week. And economically, that is not something that we can smile about because the moment the dollar rises, that means cost of production and the cost of everything else goes skyrocketing. And economically, we also, it's back to school errands, and it has been very difficult for parents because the government has done away with education subsidy, the amounts that they were given in the regime, last regime that was Uhuru's regime. They used to give a subsidy of around 22,000. Right now, the government subsidy has been reduced by over 50%. So you can imagine the parent has to fund the student almost three-quarter, which is not an easy thing because even before, when we had the government subsidy, they still used to rely on bursaries. And you can imagine the bursary allocation has not been increased. HELB allocation has also not been increased. It has even gone down. And it's not an easy thing in the education sector. It's chaos.
Okay, thank you very much. Talking about education, I think you are aware that almost, I think it's not more than a week ago, the results for KCSE were released by the CS for Education, Machogu. But it came with so many complaints. For instance, we saw a school in Migori whereby almost everybody scored a D. On your thought, what do you think is happening to our educational sector, especially like education?
Our education sector has been doing well for the last 3-4 years. When we had Matiang'i from 2016, it was we got to see KCSE integrity being upheld at a very high level. Then we left from Matiang'i, came the other one. His name is
the late Professor
Makoha. So he also maintained standards, but now the current CS Machogu has made everything to be chaos because you can imagine in the afternoon at 11, you check out your results and you find you have a B minus. Then in the afternoon, a relative decides to check your results and they find out you have an A minus. So now you are left wondering, are you going to use the A minus or you're going to use the B minus? And that is where you realize the integrity of this nation in the education sector has gone to the dogs because you cannot tell me we are telling students not to steal exams. We are telling them they have to maintain integrity as they sit for the exams and their teachers. Then we as the government, we give them substandard results. Because how do you explain to me of a school that had no D, no C minus, all of them had A and A minuses and B pluses, and that is not, you see, despite how much we want to make it look like some schools performed better than the others, truth is the results don't look genuine. If we are to use data and check those schools that have performed in a very weird way, you find that in one school, we have candidates with one grade for one specific subject. Like in Kiswahili, or maybe chemistry, you find every student scored a B+. Are you telling us that these students, all of them were thinking in the same way? So the integrity, right now you cannot even tell a student why when they are done with campus and they're now into the employment sector, why they should not do wash and those other weird kind of businesses, because even the government is doing wash with their education system. Because I told you, we have cases whereby you find somebody was an A student throughout his high school studies, then comes KCSE, this person has a C-, and you're wondering, how is it going on? You find somebody has been a C student, has been a D student all along, then we find that we had a total of 46,000 E's, meaning these are people that either waliingia kwa exam room and they only wrote their name, or they even wrote a lot of things on the paper but scored. An E is between 0 to 25 points, right? So you can imagine, where are the 46,000 supposed to go? Are our technical institutions equipped in a way that they can accommodate the 46,000 to go do tailoring, mechanics, or that is automotive, plumbing, electricity? Are they equipped? Are they funded? Remember, our TVETs are under county government. Do the county government has proper allocation for that to accommodate such numbers? Because that is a crazy number.
Yeah, talking about the county government, because we know that there's a money that should be allocated from the national government, and maybe the national government has not allocated those money, maybe. But also the county government, they usually have revenue collection. When you look at what the county government is collecting from revenue collection, what do they do with the money? Because sometimes the county government, some of them should be providing bursaries for needy students. We need to have like the hospital that is managed under county, but we are still seeing like they are not performing as they should be. There are a lot of corruption in them.
Matters county government is a very delicate topic, because the money that county government collects, which is the revenue,
yes,
they don't like collect 1 billion and use 1 billion. Money is collected from the county level, put in one basket that is going to accommodate revenues from the whole country in different counties, and each county has a different collection of revenue. Sometimes you find Nyandarua maybe can collect 500 million. Migori County can collect 1 billion. It depends with the businesses in that county, licenses, and all other things that contribute to the revenue. So once this money is allocated and not allocated, once this money is collected and put in one basket, then the National Treasury distributes the money back to counties. And that is where we have a problem. Because you can imagine, Mount Kenya region, where I come from, we are the biggest revenue collection counties. We in terms of regions, the regions that contribute the most to our revenue is Mount Kenya. But now when we collect, the money is collected from our counties, taken to the national basket. Once it's been brought back to the counties, we find that Mount Kenya does not receive the same amount of money that it gives. Or even if there is no balance in the ratio of our giving and our receiving. And that is what BBI was coming to address. 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. Meaning, if as a county like Kiambu, which is a very big county that has around 3 million people, Kiambu has many constituencies. I think it has 17 constituencies. So if Kiambu is collecting 1 billion in terms of revenue, when we come back to giving them an allocation, we should give them allocations that are enough and that concur with their rate of revenue. But now you find the money we give back to some of these counties that does not correspond with the money that they gave. And that is where you find an MP in Mount Kenya, Kiambu County to be specific, for instance, Ruiru, this person has like 500,000 in the constituency, 500,000 people.
Yeah.
This person is allocated the same amount of money for CDF with an MP in Lamu who has like 30 people, 30,000 people in a constituency, or even sometimes even 20,000 in a constituency. They are supposed to give these people bursaries. They are supposed to do infrastructure for them. And that is now where the question of bursary comes in. If I am supposed to distribute my bursary among 500,000 constituents, and an MP in Lamu is distributing among 32,000 people, factoring the factor of who is in school and who is not in school, you find that the one in Kiambu can only give a very small audience bursaries. And even if they are to give a large number, they can only give each 1,000. Now, 1,000 as a bursary allocation is not going to help your kid, because if their school fees is around 50,000 and they give you 1,000, it does not make that much of a difference. So I think in future we need to factor in one man, one vote, one shilling, so that each county can get what it rightfully deserves. You can imagine Turkana, which is it is classified as a marginalized county, is receiving more allocation, the same allocation with a county like Nyandarua County. Yet in Turkana, maybe those who go to school are not as many as those who go to school in Nyandarua County. So I think in future our members of parliament need to factor that in maybe as a bill, because I believe everything that they decide to do can be done in the parliament. We don't even need to go for a referendum. So it's a bill that can be considered, so that our allocations can be, you can get what you rightfully give, because it's not fair to give government one loaf of bread and then you give them one half loaf of bread. Then once government is supposed to feed us, it gives me one slice and gives you two slices simply because you're in a marginalized location. Yet I give them more.
Do you think then do you think then people should, or like the voters, especially like when we talk about Mount Kenya, because that is something that it has always been there discussed, and based on what the revenue the Mount Kenya is giving the country is a lot of money. But do you think like as a county level now we should start having a conversation whereby we say, if we collect the revenue, there's this much that we should take to the national government and there's this much that should remain to the county. That is one. Then secondly, then another thing that maybe should also be put into consideration, like we look at the population that has always been there. Then we see let's say like you're talking about Ruiru. So if Ruiru has this larger number of population, then how can we make it possible so that the Ruiru can be divided into two constituencies or three? So that the money allocation can play part, because when you talk about of sharing of the revenue, which means Mount Kenya is losing from the way you talk compared to other areas, especially like the areas that get the same amount Mount Kenya is getting, yet the Mount Kenya gives a lot of revenue.
For the boundary for additional counties, constituencies, it's provided for in our constitution, and I think the constitution is very clear. After maybe 8 years to I think 12, our country is allowed members of parliament to propose additional constituencies. Additional constituencies is not something that has not been there. Last year around after August, I think Western members of parliament did a bill that they were requesting additional constituencies, and they had requested for 10 additional constituencies. And I remember one time I was on an interview with Kisii Bomachoge constituency MP, and he was saying it's not something that is not doable. We are in that duration of the constitution where we have the choice to add our constituencies or not. But then again, additional constituencies come with a lot, because they mean we have to add members of parliament allocation also. So it's not something that we can just wake up and do. But I think if members of parliament are dedicated to it, it can actually be actualized without a lot of drama, because they only need to bring a bill in parliament. It's debated about, then taken to the Senate, then the president signs it into law. Then, of course, it won't be actualized immediately because of the missing leaders and all that. So in the next election, IEBC adds those constituencies in the elective positions. So additional constituencies is very doable. Maybe what cannot, counties also can be done, but I think for counties, we will need maybe a referendum. I'm not so sure about that. But for the constituencies, I know it's provided for in the constitution. You can add constituencies simply by going to the parliament and as a member of parliament proposing the bill.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me come recently, or it's like a week, it's something that is going on. We've seen this war that has been taken to the judiciary by the executive, whereby the executive feels that some of his policies or some of his visions are being derailed by some judicial officers. As somebody who is a leader, what can you say about that?
Mara's judiciary are very, they sit at the heart of this nation, because this nation is running on a rule of law. And the moment the executive wants to intimidate or want to gag around the judiciary, we as Kenyans should be worried, because every institution, Kenya has three arms of the government. We have the executive, we have the legislative, and we have the judiciary. And every arm is supposed to independently coexist with the other. Parliament cannot order around judiciary. Judiciary cannot, this is just how independently the constitution has outlined they should run. And if the president thinks some people are corrupt, I think the president is not above the law. What he should do is, if you have specifics that you think are corrupt, take them to a court of law, provide evidence. You are a Kenyan, you are allowed to take them to a court of law. Or rather, sit down with your attorney general, let him advise you what channel should you use. Because this regime that we have today, Kenya Kwanza regime, is a regime that was put into power after what is it called? After
The
we had presidential elections had issues, and you remember the judiciary dismissing the Azimio side, saying it's what were these words that they use? Hot air. And such kind of words. Then today you want to tell us that this same judiciary that got you into office is corrupt. And again, why they are saying it's corrupt, it's because of the affordable housing. And it's something that we don't need to make the judiciary intimidated or interfere with the activities. It's something that can simply be done. If anybody has any grievances, they should go to court. So for me, I think the judiciary needs to take a very strong stand, and especially the CJ, she needs to be very firm, because you cannot allow your institution be accused of corruption and you cannot face the person who is doing it. I saw her press release, and she could not even in black and white say the president said A, B, C, and D. She kept referring to the states. But I think Kenya has a problem with the independence of, there's a very thin line between the independence of these arms of government and politics, because now they want to politicize this issue issue, and it's going to be very sad because if a president can wake up and bash the judiciary and the judiciary reverses the decisions they had made against affordable housing, that is to tell us we are running this country without the rule of law. And without the rule of law, what is going to happen? I will also go to court. We have grievances with a fellow citizen. And once the judge gives this ruling, I am going to say, no, this is corrupt. One of them was corrupt. So they just need to learn how to settle their things without having to bring so much politics, because you understand that judiciary cannot go to burials and weddings and address the president or address the parliament or the Senate. So I think the politicians just need to know where to draw the line, and the judiciary needs to stand very firm. And I appreciate that they did LSK did a peaceful demonstration, because that is what should be done in Kenya. If you want to overstep your mandate, Kenyans have to call you to account.
Yes, and just to know, you've talked about politicians, and this is the first time like executive is going on the judiciary, but we've always seen in our political landscape, especially when a ruling is done that is not favoring you, you might call out the judiciary as being. At what point right now should we put our country first, whereby if you feel like the ruling that has been made is not justifiable to you, instead of bashing the judiciary, you have mechanisms to appeal. But our politicians, it will be something that will go onto the funeral, onto the rallies, and doing that, yet they know the procedures. So what is happening with our leadership?
I did not exactly get
Let's say
question.
Okay, let me ask you. Always, when judiciary makes a ruling, there's always two ways. You can win the case or you don't win it. But when it is a politically charged, yeah, one side, the law favors them. They will appreciate the judiciary and say how our judiciary is very independent. If the ruling does not favor you, you will call out on the judiciary. For instance,
that's the problem.
Yeah, when the judiciary confirmed the win of the president, it was a praise for the judiciary. Yeah. Now, since the judiciary are not ruling against its favor, is calling out on the judiciary, and this one happened in all the political spaces.
That is why I told you, politicians need to remember that the judiciary cannot address them in public rallies, and it's sad because for the last 16 months we have been seeing very serious cases against politicians who are politically right. By politically right, I mean who are their friends are in government, the Kenya Kwanza affiliated politicians. Their cases have been thrown out of the courts, and for lack of evidence, blah blah blah, and none of them ever woke up and asked, why are these corruption cases? And it's not a small amount of money, like the Kimwarel and any other scandal that has been there. It involves a lot of public money, but when they were dismissed from court, or I don't remember what is the word that the court uses once they do away with a case against somebody?
No, I'm just looking for the word. Maybe if a viewer has
I'm not a legal expert.
Who is a legal expert on the
wakishinda kesi za where they had been sued with corruption and misuse of office and misuse of public funds, they don't have a problem with that. And I hope in future Kenyans can learn from this, and Kenyans need to appreciate the Constitution, because if we allow politicians defy court orders, we allow politicians step on our judiciary as they can, it's a risky affair. You will find somebody comes, grabs your land, you are given court orders restraining them from developing the land until the case is done. And they are going to defy the court orders. And when they are asked, they'll say, if politicians can defy court orders, why not me? If the president can insinuate that he's willing to defy court orders against affordable housing, why not any other private citizen? So it's a sad state for the judiciary. But I know with time, we are going to get to a middle where the judiciary and the executive come to an agreement. But I don't think it's anything to agree about. The judiciary should just work independently. And if anybody, not only Kenya Kwanza regime, any citizen feels like there's a corrupt judge, magistrate, or a corrupt lawyer or anything, let them go to a court of law. I think the judiciary has a disciplinary channel that any Kenyan can channel their complaints and their issues.
Okay. We know very well that the youths are the majority in our country, and especially when it comes to political decision making, the youth should be part of it. But for quite some times, or for the longest time in our history, when it comes to crucial making decisions of matters pertaining to the nation, the youths tend to be ignored. And this one brings me to about NADCO report. When the NADCO report came out, um, we to me, I would say me, I did not see anything tangible that touches on the youths. As a leader, were you worried, or the report was okay with you?
You know, the NADCO report,
Yeah.
of course, was not comprehensive, but the moment they allowed an office of opposition, because the office of the PM, Prime Minister, is already there, and Musalia Mudavadi is already in office, and he already has a budget, and they don't know he has been operating like which officer, because legally and according to the constitution, we don't have a position called Prime Cabinet Secretary. So the opposition office that was set aside is going to address issues pertaining Kenyans. When the cost of living is addressed by opposition, me as a young person, I am included there. Me as a person with a disability, I am included there. But also again, I want to simply say, by the fact that Raila Omolo Odinga was okay with the NADCO report, and I am sure he means well for this nation, despite the fact that it was not really detailed to address the young people, the people with disabilities, the elderly. I am sure once whatever was submitted is going to be actualized, I know they are now going to go to the nitty-gritties, because what we really needed was an office of opposition that is going to address and counter-check this government, put it in check, so that anything that this government does and does not relate to mwananchi, the office of opposition can officially raise the issue without us having to go to the roads. This was a channel that was being created to allow and to ensure that no regime feels like they run the whole nation. They understand that if we do anything wrong, opposition is going to put us in check. And I am also confident with the fact that, of course, the opposition office is going to be taken over by Raila Amolo Odinga. I'm very confident to say that I am very sure the cost of living will be addressed. Because if we don't address the cost of living, we cannot even narrow down to saying the youth. And also, when it comes to, because the main issue with youth is that the government of Kenya has Ministry of Youth, but it's not entirely youth, because it has sports, and for sports anybody can participate. So I think the youth structures have not been properly integrated into one system or one-step shop where a youth can go to maybe this department and find the funds, the find policies, find the bodies that are supposed to be helping this person raise concerns. Our channels are across the board. You go to the Ministry of Industrialization, you find cooperatives. That is where there is a youth fund. You go to matters administration, that is where you find maybe the National Council that has not been functioning for the last like 10 years, which is an issue that we need to maybe raise, because National Council was put in place to ensure that the youth can electively put people in office to raise their concerns. And I hope in future the government can consider bringing back that National Council, because the moment the youths don't have people that they elect to raise their concerns, and you not put the youth ministry with everything in one roof, it becomes helter skelter. Some youths don't even know you can access youth fund, you can access this amount of money to do your business, you can access this money for your agricultural activities back in mashinani, because they are just everywhere. The youth category should have everything listed in one ministry so that we are able to easily access it. So I think once the office of opposition is there, and maybe they can try get us back the National Youth Council, which can be able to seek the president or the parliament to integrate all youth activities, policies, and all their, what are they called? Their budget allocations, everything under one roof, so that it is easily accessible for the young people.
Okay, now if you look at the constitution we have today, is a presidential kind of like is a presidential, whereby we have the executive, then we have the legislature. Right now, the legislature are required by law to put the executive on check. And when you come to the parliament, we have the leadership of the parliament. Right now, as we speak, Opiyo Wandayi should be the leader of minority, which means is taking the leadership of the House as an opposition leader as we speak today. So when you look at NADCO report, what maybe we might ask ourselves, if it is approved or it is where is the leadership of the House? What will be Opiyo Wandayi doing? Because he should whip the minority. And what will the opposition leader be doing?
You see, the leader of minority in parliament or in Senate is there to ensure that anything comes to parliament, anything comes to the Senate, corresponds to what those in the minority wanted. Office of opposition means like we have somebody who checks the president directly without him having to go through parliament, Senate. He can simply wake up at today and tell us he's requesting the president to have this and this and this and that. It's simply a way of them having a well-laid structure that ensures that we can check the government interchangeably, without and with the help of parliament and Senate. Because sometimes why we have some things going, like right now, the Parliament of Kenya has become an extension of the executive, whereby anything the president says passes the both houses. Anything that any other person says maybe the opposition, by the fact that they don't have numbers, cannot go through. If the youth parliamentarians decide to bring a certain bill, as long as they don't have the blessings of the president or the blessings of the majority in parliament, it won't go through. So I think the office of opposition is going to help us cut through that line to ensure that beyond the Senate, beyond Parliament, Kenyans can raise concerns that are going to directly be heard by the president.
Okay, thank you. Let's get off national politics before we wind up. I know you're coming from Mount Kenya, and Mount Kenya nation is experiencing so many things. We have issue with the Maina Njenga, that is one. We have issue of Dindi Nyoro being the next kingship. We have the issue of Jubilee wrangles. You know, where do you see Mount Kenya right now as a young leader?
Mount Kenya for now is a bit lost. We don't know what we want. We don't know what we don't want. Because Mount Kenya, for the longest time in history, during Jomo Kenyatta's era, Moi's era, Kibaki's era, Mount Kenya was a very respected region when it comes to politics and when it comes to elections, because every president who has come into power had to really war Mount Kenya region. But where we are heading in the next 5-10 years, we are looking at a situation whereby anybody can be a president without having to have the votes of Mount Kenya, because we are very much divided. We are not united for one purpose. The moment you hear some members of parliament with the audacity to wake up and address the deputy president, I am Azimio myself, but if you ask me my opinion about this Dindi Nyoro, Gachagua story, I think somebody's playing games on them, whereby you find both of them are in the menu, but one is trying to show the other one, you are the one to be slaughtered and not me. But eventually, the person who is playing the buttons knows very well, at the end of the day, both of you, Dindi Nyoro and Gachagua, will be in the menu. So it's just a matter of time, because truth is, why would somebody be interested with a drift within the mountain? It's because in history we say there is the divide and rule way of ruling people. So it's just a way of doing divide and rule, where some members of parliament will be aligned to Dindi Nyoro, some members of parliament will be aligned to Rigathi Gachagua. And if you ask me, if today somebody asked me what you think about it, I would simply say, despite me being Azimio, I think it's not the right time for the mountain members of parliament to start saying who should take over who. They should, I know Rigathi Gachagua is not perfect, but they should instead, this one that is already in power, if they feel he's not doing some things right, go to him, tell him. But we cannot be fighting as Mount Kenya to be in power, yet when you people are fighting, the Kalenjin nation is coming together and giving their children opportunities. When Mount Kenya is fighting about who is the next kingpin, members of parliament from the Kalenjin nation are giving their children TSC employment letters, recruitments for police force, KDF, GSU, and all that. So these are divide and rule. Wale wapigane pale, sisi tukiwa tukipea watu wetu kazi. By the time they are done with the fight, these opportunities have already gotten to be occupied, and we are way behind in terms of placements of opportunities amongst the Mount Kenya people. So I think it's absurd. They should not allow somebody to use the divide and rule method.
Okay, thank you. Maybe our last one before we wind up. When I go look back at the campaigns during the 2022 campaign,
Mhm,
um, the former president, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta
mm,
was attacked very, very, very much on the campaign trail that when it comes to coffee, all the businesses of Mount Kenya were not doing well because of him. And
mhm.
we saw that. But right now, when I'm going through uh, what is taking place, the people, the majority of nation that has like so many businesses are Mount Kenya, and the majority of people who are, because tax is everywhere. They're the people who are going to pay a lot of tax. Was it called for to attack the former president?
First of all, I love Uhuru myself, and I always tell people I was not fortunate enough to be among the people who voted for Uhuru for the last 10 years because 2022 was my first time as a voter. And I think the Uhuru, this Uhuru that this person has gone home. It's just like in today, I am married to this man. Then tomorrow we get divorced and I get married to another man. I can't keep blaming my ex husband on the
Mm,
problems that are in my family. I just need to do what should be done. I just need to sober up and address issues between me and my husband. So that is what Kenyans should do. The issues that we have with this government should be between Kenyans and Kenya Kwanza. We can't be looking for our ex president and trying to drag him into every discussion.
mm,
Uhuru left Makandamia going for almost 200 shillings. Right now, Makandamia is going for like 30 shillings a kg. Uhuru left coffee at around 120 shillings. Right now, it's below 50 shillings. And you still want to drag us into the debate of dynasty. You still want to drag us into the debate of Uhuru has grabbed run, his family has done. You still want to drag Uhuru into the debate of Mongeke and those cults and those violent groups, yet he's no longer in power.
mhm,
Kenyans need to just embrace their problems, deal with them between them and this regime. And this regime, Kenya Kwanza, needs to know that we cannot keep dragging Uhuru into everything. He
mm,
left. He's no longer the president. He cannot even raise a hand and do anything in regards to our economy. Uhuru left the dollar at 120 shillings. 16 months down the line, the dollar is at 160 shillings. You still want to blame Uhuru on the economy? Uhuru left the country, yes, with a debt. But after he left, you have taken a debt of 2.5 trillion. Doing what? No mega project. You're not funding you're not doing a fuel subsidy, you're not doing education subsidy, but you still want to drag Uhuru into the debate of Uhuru was the bad person. We cannot
mm.
function like that. This regime needs to sober up and be accountable to Wanjiko and stop blame games. Even in life, as young people, we are told the moment you keep blaming, you are surrounded for your misfortunes in your life, sometimes you won't succeed. If every time that you ask why you don't do well in life, you're like, oh, it's because my mom, oh, it's because my church, oh, it's because my school, you have to own up your mistake. Kenyans need to realize that right now, as this regime is taking loans, who does not even know how they are going to be paid or not.
Yeah.
And on the issue of paying loans, we have never defied or we have never lacked to pay our debts. There is no year that Kenya has been ranked as a defaulter, meaning we have been paying our loans. So why is it that this regime that pays off one loan and he wants to make us think like they have done something very great, yet it has been done before? This regime needs to work. If they don't work, they'll always find themselves blaming Uhuru Kenyatta for misfortunes that he has no hand in. He has no direct hand in, because if you found Uhuru had borrowed, uh, how much was it? The debt was at our Kenyan debt when Uhuru was living was at 16 trillion.
Yeah, yeah. But it has
Right
gone
now,
up.
right now, this regime has borrowed 2.5 trillion. So we are talking of 18.5. If you
Mm.
are a good person, you would have retained it at that. But you cannot be overtaxing Kenyans and still taking loans, and nothing is going on. No mega projects. Kenyans are still complaining of overtaxation. So the Uhuru debate should no longer be there. Let people respect him. When Moi, who was termed as a dictator, left his presidency, I did not see the Kalenjin go to his home, steal livestock, or cut down trees, or even point fingers at him. It's only Mount Kenya leaders who are used to do that to their former president. As bad as Moi was, because he took this nation through years and years, decades and decades of a lot of impunity. When he was retired, nobody dared raise a finger on him. But when Uhuru has gone home, our Kikuyu members of parliament, our Kikuyu senators, our Kikuyu governors, and our Kikuyu members of the county assembly want to be used to insult and bring bad blood between the Mount Kenya region, their former president, and make it chaotic in the whole country about Uhuru Kenyatta. It's wrong. And I wish they can look at what happened in 2000 and was it 2002 when Moi
Yeah,
left office?
yeah. 2002.
They should check what the Kalenjin nation did to Moi. They embraced him like their ex-president. But we want to make Uhuru feel like, you know what, you're even making it look like he's no longer a Kenyan. The moment you withdraw security from his mother, who is a first lady of this nation, who is entitled through the constitution, the moment you want to use the police to go intimidate his sons and daughters who have not been the political limelight for a long time, it's wrong. And
Okay.
we are setting a very bad precedent to the next leaders, because when Ruto exists, will come another president who will now start settling the scores that they had with Ruto. And the country will never grow if each leader who comes into office wants to settle their political scores. Kenyans will always be at the loss. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for taking your time to be with us here. We are not taking it for granted. Maybe your last remark to our viewers.
I want to thank them, and I want to tell them that I hear people say that mimi sipendi siasa, but I want to tell them, if politics go wrong in this nation, business, social life, economically, social life, everything will go wrong. If politics are done wrongly, overtaxation comes in, you as a business person who does not even care to know who your member of parliament, who your senator is, will be affected. So I hope Kenyans in 2027 will be very candid and will be very upfront to go vote in the right leaders. And let us always remember, some people say 2027 meters tachaguana. Lacking to vote is voting in bad leaders. The only way you can make sure that you don't vote in bad leaders is by going to the ballot and voting in good leaders, leaders of integrity, leaders who can be accountable, leaders with the goodwill of this nation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, and for our viewers, thank you for your comments. You can also invite a friend to be part of this channel, because we will always be hosting leaders across our country so that we can listen to their views. Our work here is to build our nation and to see we have a prosperous nation with people loving, and despite the political affiliation, we need good leadership, because if the country goes down, all of us go. It doesn't matter which party you are in, so that's what I would want to say. And thank you so much. And next week here we will be having Senior Counsel Willis Otieno. So please stay tuned, come and listen to the counsel. If you have any questions, send them prior so that he will be able to answer them. Thank you so much, our guests, and may God bless you. We will host you again if we need you.
Okay, thank you so much also. Have a good time.